Welcome to the podcast, A Drink with Derek. Follow comedian Derek Richards on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and don't forget to subscribe to his YouTube channel and watch all episodes of the podcast. Now grab a drink and join your host, Derek Richards.
Hey, it's Derek Richards here in Las Vegas. This may be a mug of Redbreast 12-year Irish whiskey, but it's not, because I would not disrespect a delicious Irish whiskey by sticking it in a stupid coffee mug. But anyhow, great to have you here with us on the show. Excited for this podcast here. A buddy of mine who is a comedian, writer, actor, producer. He's got a brand new movie out called Don't Suck that is going to be landing here shortly. Excited to hear about how this whole thing came together, and excited to have him on the show. Excited to have the Oakland A's moving to Las Vegas. As of now, they're going to be blowing up the Tropicana Hotel and putting the new Oakland A's stadium down there. I can't imagine how pissed off people in Northern California are at Las Vegas. We take the Raiders, and we take the Golden Knights. We didn't take the Golden Knights from there, but I like to think that the Golden Knights were actually looking at Oakland and then said screw it, and then went to Las Vegas, and now we're getting the Oakland A's. Excited for baseball here in Las Vegas, Major League Baseball. I've got some shows coming up here. May 31st, I'll be at Host in Utica, Michigan. June 1, 2, and 3, I'll be at Dr. Grin's Comedy Club in Grand Rapids. And then June 14 through 18 at McCurdy's Comedy Club down in Sarasota, Florida. All my dates are on my website at DerekRichards.com. I've got a special on Open Bar Comedy, brand new platform that has a ton of comedy specials on there. And in fact, my guest today, Rick Delia, has a special on there as well. Mine is called Melting Snowflakes, openbarcomedy.com. They are adding new specials every single day. It is not dry bar comedy, which is the squeaky clean stuff. Open bar comedy is whatever the hell the comedian wants to say, which is the way I think it should be. I've also got a book out called Whiskey, Cancer, and Bad Decisions. You can find it on Amazon. It's available on Kindle. You got the audio book on there as well, and you can get an old-fashioned hard copy right there on Amazon. You can get everything on Amazon. Whiskey, Cancer, and Bad Decisions. Now, my guest today, as I mentioned, he has got a special on open bar comedy, also dry bar comedy. He's a comedian, writer, actor, producer, originally from Boston, now lives in Reno, Nevada. He is responsible behind this brand new production starring Jamie Kennedy, Matt Rife, and of course, yours truly, Derek Richards. The movie is called Don't Suck. This is the trailer for that movie, Don't Suck, here on A Drink with Derek.
You get me on the list, Pete?
No.
Take a look at the kid that I'm sticking on stage next.
Why would I ever do that?
You've seen people bomb. This kid next levels it.
I am a vampire. For the record, I'm neither Team Edward or Team Jacob. I rooted for the sun.
Give it up for Count Dracula, everybody. He was so scary, he scared the laughs away.
I saw you in the back.
Oh yeah, I was the guy who laughed.
Thank you for that. You ever needed an opener?
What's up?
I have a commitment for you to open up the brand new Russell Peters special. Pick an opener, or one's going to be appointed for you.
All right.
If you take me, I will pay for every expense. What do you say?
All right. Guy has a friggin' coffin.
He's a good guy, and you can learn a thing or two.
Like what? How to hang upside down?
Welcome to East Bum, Nevada, kid. Zip code EIEIL.
This is like the Radio City Music Hall of strip club kids. I gotta tell you.
Next. Will you quit the vampire routine?
It's not a routine.
Oh my God, your generation is so weird. I mean, the coffin is eccentric, but explainable. The glowing eyes, contacts. The teeth, it's an odd lifestyle choice, but hey, it's Vegas. But dude, you turned into a bat!
Ladies and gentlemen, you have been delicious.
Dude, you're amazing.
Where'd you find this kid?
Only fangs.
I am loving this whole emo thing you have going on. We should just wrap this up before the sun comes up, right?
Actually, that's a myth.
That's hysterical! They got jokes.
Aren't you late for your job at the truck stop glory hole?
Good evening, ladies. Step aside, Twilight.
Don't do this.
You killed a guy and drank his blood.
That's crazy.
Ethan Barr, my favorite vampire.
Do you have any idea what it's like to be emotionally dead inside?
Have you met me? I'm a comedian.
Do you want to touch it?
Jesus.
Super excited. Movie Don't Suck. The man behind the production, comedian, actor, writer, producer, Rick Delia. Good to see you, my friend. How are you?
Yeah, you too, brother. Hey, don't forget, I have a hat waiting for you at the.
I know. I was able to miss the. Sadly, unfortunately, was had to miss the premiere of the movie Don't Suck, which you did over at the Westgate. I heard it came out fantastic. Everybody that was there loved it. Had a great time.
It couldn't have gone any better, and it was really weird watching. Because I've seen incarnations of this along the way, but it was my first time seeing it up on the big screen. And I was pleasantly surprised. I thought, you're nervous because you're like, what did they leave in? What did they cut out? They left in most of the stuff that I wanted in. They did leave a few things. And I'm happy to tell you what those things were that they cut out. And if I ever get a chance, if we ever get to do like a director's writer's cut, there'll be a lot more edgy shit in the movie. Than not, but I'm very happy. I'm very happy about it, and hopefully it'll come out by the end of the summer. We have 2 more film festivals to put it in. It's in Cannes right now over in France, so we'll see how it does over there, and then
nice.
Knock on wood,
No, it's fantastic. Before we get into this, I want to ask you 3 random questions, like I like to ask my guests from the Cards Against Humanity deck. So here we go. 3 quick questions for you here. Here we go, Rick Delia. TSA guidelines now prohibit blank on airplanes.
White people.
What's the next?
Can I say that? I'm sorry.
Yes, you can say it.
Straight white men. I'm canceled.
What's the next Happy Meal toy?
A toddler tuck swimsuit.
Perfect. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Here we go.
Yeah.
Fun tip. When your man asks you to go down on him, try surprising him with blank instead. I will ask it again. Fun tip. When your man asks you to go down on him, try surprising him with blank instead.
Brazilian waxing your asshole.
You're a charmer. I can't believe your next movie's not going to be on Hallmark.
Oh, shit.
Oh man, I want to get to the movie because you know what's so funny is I remember you approached me with this because the concept for this movie Don't Suck came about from a guy. Yeah. If my memory serves correctly, you come up and you go, dude, I got this guy. He wants to do a film, and it's about a comedian who's a vampire. And I looked at you like he had 3 heads, and you looked at me the way you should look at me when I look at you like you have 3 heads. And you're like, I don't know. And then literally like 2 weeks later, you come rolling up and you go, dude, I got a script. I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. Because this guy wanted you to write a script. Tell me, am I right about this? Because this is how I recall this conversation happening about 2.5, 3 years ago.
Yeah, it was just I think just over 3 years ago. It was the winter of 2000. I think
2009. It was before the pandemic.
It was before the pandemic. It was in the winter of 19. It was March of 2019, and it was Ron Lorenz and Diana Eloise, who were not married at the time. They're married now. I was getting shit-faced with them up at their house in Truckee, California, and it was actually Diana's idea. She says, "We want to make a movie, and Ron is going to put some money towards it," and she goes, "We want you to write it." And all good ideas come out when you're shit-faced, right? I was like, yeah, all right, pitch me the idea. She goes, it's about your life. And I go, that's not a movie. That's not interesting. And she says, no. You're a comedian, and you stay up all night, and you sleep all day long, so you're a vampire. So the movie's about a vampire comedian. And I was like, that's not a movie. Like, you can't, what's the story? And she says, well, you're the writer, you come up with the story. And I was like, I just don't see that happening. And she says, well, you know, he's going to put in X amount of money. And it was 6 figures. And I was like, that's actually a pretty fucking good idea. And so, right? But here's how she was brilliant. Here's how she was brilliant. You know that expression, the quickest way to get a guy to do something is to tell him that he can't. So when she said, well, if you're a good writer, you can come up with something, I was like, oh, all right, you know. So I came back down to Vegas, and I'd mentioned it to you. I talked to Don Barnhart and Oscar, and I was like, how the hell can we put this together? And then so I spent a few days with those 2 guys with notepads, and we just came up with ideas how to make it, like, how can something like this possibly work? And we just kept coming back to the original thing when Diana said, this movie's about you. So it's like, if I can write something about me in comedy and take the vampire out of the equation. So like the whole story came up, just forget about the vampire. What would I do as a comic, right? And so, you know, I came up with the structure for it. It actually took me a couple months, probably like 2 or 3 months to write it. The first draft anyway. And that's when I got back to you and I was like, hey man, yeah, I got a script. And then, you know, everyone seemed to like it was such a crazy idea. There's no way it could possibly work, but somehow it works. And then what I did is I approached Jamie Kennedy, who is a buddy of mine we almost worked on a project together, my very first screenplay in 1999. We can circle back to that later. So anyway, I says to Jamie, I go, hey man, you said you always wanted to work together again after that last project we did, never saw the light of day. And he goes, yeah. What do you got? I go, I got a script. He goes, what's it about? And I go, I can't tell you. Just please read it. Because I know you can't even pitch it. It's about a vampire comedian on the road. You know what I mean? It just sounds so fucking stupid. You can't elevator pitch that. And that was why it was so hard, you know, to even attract people in the first place. Just to say, trust me, read the script. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people are like, no, if you can't pitch it, it's obviously not. If you can't sum it up in one sentence with a log line, it's obviously not that great of a thing. So that was a big challenge. So I literally told Jay, please. And Jamie read it and he's like, holy shit, bro, I have to do this movie. Just I'll sign an NDA or a letter of intent, you know. But what also helped is having some financing in place, because that makes it real. Without the financing, people are like, yeah, it's just another idea. Because everyone has ideas, you know what I mean? Everyone in Hollywood has a script. Everyone has an idea. But if you don't have money, it's not fucking real. So we could at least lock Jamie down, you know, even with a, you know, let's say, you know, $15,000, you know, what do they call it? Pay or play, something like that. So I have a little bit of money and I have Jamie Kennedy in a decent script, and then it you know, kind of snowballed from there. Then you just start bringing other producers in, you know, other actors, and we were set to go, if you remember correctly, we were set to go, I think it was March 28th of 2020. And then, you know, and then the thing happened with the bat. And the
thing happened when Tom Brady got traded from the Patriots to the Buccaneers.
Yeah, exactly.
For you, that was way worse than the pandemic.
Oh, it was devastating. Literally, I couldn't get out of bed for, you know what I mean? Fuck the Kung flu. I was devastated by the loss of Brady. Still hurts.
Well, no, when did you start screenwriting? You started back in 1999. Was that when you had first started putting this together, just to kind of get a background on you with this?
1997 is when I started.
Okay.
I'd moved to Los Angeles, and you know, geez, I wish I waited a little longer in Boston. I moved out prematurely. You know what I mean? I had one appearance on Comedy Central, which was putting everyone on way back then. And I was like, well, I should probably get out to Hollywood, you know, because they're probably going to be wondering where I am, like a fucking idiot. You know, I had 15 minutes of material, and you know, it's my turn for the sitcom or the development deal. So I go out there, and anyway, you know, it was a harsh reality, start over open micing and, you know, all that nonsense. And everyone's like, you can't be a one-trick pony in LA. You have to wear many, many hats. What else do you want to do besides stand-up? And I thought making movies was really cool. I actually took a couple of classes on screenwriting. I read every book I could get my hands on. I took a producing course at Eagle Rock Studios over in the Valley, and I learned how to edit. And back then it was on, geez, it was like the 3/4 tape beta. It was like
Right.
Betamax. If you ever remember those? And
Oh,
so
yeah.
I learned how to do that linear editing and just low budget production type of stuff. And I had a local TV show over there with some friends of mine, and just kind of got my feet wet. And so I came up with an idea for this screenplay, and it took me about a year and a half, maybe 2 years, to get it to where I was happy to show it to people. You know what I mean? And then I entered it in some screenwriting competitions. I came in third in the final draft screenwriting competition in 1999, and because of that, I wound up getting a literary agent and some meetings with some people, and blah blah blah. Very, very long story short, we were on the 1 yard line of a movie that was cast. The movie was called Mob.com, and it was way before there was any other .com movie, right? And it starred Jamie Kennedy, Ethan Embry, Burt Young, Tippi Hedren, Craig Sheffer, Gabrielle Anwar. There's a couple other people I can't remember. Kevin Pollak, Kenny Campbell.
Wow.
Yeah, and then as we were in pre-production, and Fred Fuchs, was the executive producer, and he was Francis Ford Coppola's producing partner at American Zoetrope, Godfather, all that shit. So he was
Wow.
executive producing the script that I wrote. And then the director, again, this is the condensed version, the director goes ahead and makes a pay or play offer on Sean William Scott and Jason Biggs, because that movie, what was it, American Pie had just come out, and those two were really hot right at the time. Even though we had Jamie Kennedy and Ethan Embry, our director's like, no, we'll offer him a lot more, and it was amount of money that we didn't even have in our budget. He offered them something like $3 million each, and I think our entire budget was $5 million for the whole movie, and and so. Long story short, Fred Fuchs gets wind that the director makes a move behind his back, and he says, I'm out. I'm not going to have anything to do with this movie, because that was an amateur move. We were happy with the cast.
Man.
And so once he leaves, then the dominoes, once the big guy leaves, then the dominoes start. It was like when Brady left the Patriots. How did they do the next year? They sucked in. So no one wanted to be part of the movie. And that's a very, very condensed version of a very long story that spanned over a 2.5 year period. But Jamie Kennedy and I remained friends, and he always wanted to be in that movie. And every time we saw each other, he'd be like, man, that guy fucked us. We got so fucked by that guy. That guy later went on to, he was on 2020 or 60, one of those, in a hidden camera thing. And I can't remember who it was. It was like Jane Pauley or some well-known anchor person, journalist.
Right.
In a Ponzi scheme. And he wound up going to prison for like 3 or 4 years. So it was a little bit of vindication, but the movie never got made. So anyway,
this is the guy that screwed you out of that production.
Yes, that's the guy. And he wound up going to jail. And
see, that's what happens when you mess with Rick Delia.
Yeah. And then, a few years go by, and anything that was new about the internet or .com, it was passe and old. And then The Sopranos came out. So my unique idea of a guy finding an entry-level mafia position in a mafia chat room on the internet, it was no good. It was a great idea at the time. No one was doing anything like it. And then all of a sudden, 10 years later, everyone did something along those lines. Road Trip. It was very, but. So
people have just no idea the layers that go on behind the scenes of making a production. I mean, it's, you think but you don't know until you're buried in the middle of it. And this is just me hanging out with you and talking to you about how this whole thing, came together. I mean, now how does someone, obviously you're hanging out with these people in Truckee, California. They had some money and they decided to back it. Now, were they the only backers behind this, or did other people pile on?
Oh, no. Initially they were. Now, it should be known that Diana not only was an actress and a comedian, she had a comedy club in Los Angeles for a little while, and and so that's how I knew her. But all the comics, she was in Hollywood at the time in the 90s. everyone knew who she was because she had, if you have a comedy club, it was called a Moggy's. It was at Sunset Gower Gulch, and it was great. Tons of Billy Burr, Patton Oswalt, that Chelsea Handler was a regular at her club. You know what I mean? So like a lot of people who went on to be pretty big performed at her club. So it's not like she was just a neophyte newbie off the street. She wanted to make a movie, and she had this crazy idea for the vampire comedy. Her now husband Ron is he's financially secure, so he threw in it was 200. He threw in $200,000, and so that's enough money to make it real. Okay, and so like I said, so once I had Jamie on board, and that amount of money in a bank, you know what I mean, because you have to verify funds. Then it was easier for our director Raja to approach other people. And so we found this music producer guy out of Texas, Poria, great guy. He matched the 200. So now we have 400, okay? We have to get just up over 500 to qualify for the Nevada tax credit, where they give you a $100,000 credit towards everything. All expenses that occur within Nevada. So we had to do tons of.
If it's over $500,000, if you raised over half a million for this, then they would give you the $100,000 tax credit. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So our goal was to get enough over 500,000. So not every expense will qualify. So we were able to come up with $750,000, and it's crazy for me to think about that. I had a $5 million movie in 1999. And that was a decent budget, but it was low. And this thing, $750,000 today is peanuts. It's nothing. It's like making Clerks for when they made it for $20,000 or whatever Kevin Smith made. It was.
How does somebody go ahead and get? How does somebody get funding? I mean, was there did you set up a GoFundMe, or is it just people that talk to other people that have a bunch of dough and they're like, hey, I'm in on this production. Hey, you want to get in on it? It's a cool script here. This is the idea. Is that how that really works? Do you just get a bunch of people that have money to throw around? Okay.
That's exactly what we did. And we talked about a GoFundMe, and we just didn't want to do that only because it's been very successful for a lot of people, but it does kind of smack of desperation.
Right.
You know what I mean? And we would have, we could have, but we chose not to. We were able to, and of course, I'm certainly not going to mention any names, but there was a couple of people that are like, we'll put in 25,000, but my girlfriend has to get a speaking part or be in a, you know what I mean? There was
yeah. Well, I was going to ask you about that because how do you? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
That happens at every level, Derek. That happens at the studio level. That happens at every level. Here's a bunch of money, but my girl's got to be in it. My cousin's got to be in it. So you know what I mean? That's the business. So yeah, we had a handful of those.
Well, how did you go about casting this thing? Because you had Jamie Kennedy, obviously, he was locked in as the main character, and then you ended up hooking up with Matt Rife, who has since exploded. I mean, as far as his following on social media, has a few million people on Instagram. He's got how many million on TikTok that follow him now?
12 million.
Something like ridiculous. I mean, he is just.
12 million.
I mean, young, good-looking kid, and he's a comedian, and he does a lot of crowd work stuff on his Instagram Reels and on his TikTok stuff and that too. How did you end up connecting with him?
That was through Jamie and Jay Davis. You know Jay Davis. Mm-hmm. Raja put the word out. We actually worked with a casting person out of LA who sent.
Now Raja is the director for people that are watching
director,
this.
Yeah,
Raja
director.
Collins.
Yeah, Raja Collins.
And what did he do before? What did he do before this? Great guy.
He actually was a child actor, and he grew up in San Diego. This surf kid. He did a bunch of TV commercials and some episodic television when he was a kid, and then he started producing a bunch of movies. And he had just come off a movie with Kevin James, and I'm gonna screw the name up, but it was like Confessions of an Assassin or whatever. Kevin James movie came out in 2018 or 2019. It had the word assassin in it, something like that. And so he had a lot of producing chops, and but he'd never directed before. And we were at this big producers meeting, and he actually had the vision. He, like, everything he said, I was like, well, yeah, that's right. That, like, comedically, we were on the same page with tone. And as you know, as a comic, tone is everything. Because if it's too slapsticky, then it's going to be like Mel Brooks, Dracula, Dead and Loving It. You know what I mean? Airplane. Those are great. I'm not knocking them, but we didn't want it to be slapstick, and we certainly didn't want it to be fucking Twilight. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? So we were just eye to eye on everything, and I was like, and he's like, I would like to direct, and I would like to, you know, make this my first directorial, you know, debut, and and he was pretty dialed into the Hollywood, you know, scene. He knew a ton of people. So it's like, yeah, man, I'll give this guy a chance. Everyone's giving me a chance on this. You know what I mean? It's, you know, I'm an overnight sensation after 31 years in the business, as they say, right? And so, so anyway, we saw, and again, you know, this is in 2019. People were submitting videos. Like nowadays, a lot of people just audition online, right? Sure. And so we looked at, I don't know, 40 different people for the vampire. And we just kept coming back to this kid. And he was just so nice and humble. And he's like, I can try it with this accent. I can try it with just this. He gave us options. And we're like, okay, it just kept coming back to him. And he's really good looking young kid. No one had heard of him at the time. You know, he was doing stand up, but he hadn't, you know, made a splash anywhere. He wasn't well known. And it was down to like him and, you know, it's a classic story, you know, it was down to him and like 2 or 3 other people. And we just kept coming back to him because he had that it factor, which you just can't, you know, you can't put your finger on it. You don't know what it is. You're like, that fucking guy. And then, and the weird irony, Derek, is that this movie is about a kind of aging middle. I mean, I wrote it as myself, not to play the guy, but you know, you know, a middle-aged comic, road warrior comic whose career is kind of, you know, winding down. He goes on the road with this brand new guy, you know, who suddenly, you know, by fluke starts to become famous and then gets much bigger, you know, student becomes mentor, mentor becomes student. And that's fucking happening in real life. Jamie Kennedy, you know, look, is brilliant. He's such a good actor, and he's funnier than anyone gives him credit for, man. Holy shit, this guy's funny. Improv as good as anybody, but he's not where he was on Scream or the Jamie Kennedy Experiment. You know, it's his trajectory is, but Matt Rife out of nowhere, out of the last 6 months, boom. So our movie's almost like a documentary at this point. It's literally art imitating life.
That is so crazy.
And
that is so bizarre the way it's worked out. And Jamie Kennedy is a great actor. I mean, in the scenes that I did with him, and watching him work, I mean, he is very dialed in, very focused. Very seldom did I ever see him, you know, boot a line in production. I mean, he really is a good actor,
dude. And you know what the craziest part is, you know, obviously we did table reads, we did blocking, we did a bunch of rehearsals and things like that. The day before the first script, it was just me, Raja, Matt Rife, and Jamie. We sat in a room for a few hours, and we're like, these are some really important scenes that we want to try to, you know, go through right now. And Jamie had a script, and he's like, he didn't know a single line. He didn't know it, but he'd go, I'll get it. Don't worry, I'll get it. Meanwhile, Matt was so professional, had the whole script memorized, had his lines, everyone else in the scenes memorized, and then cut. You know, we're on set, and Jamie's like, I don't know, right? And then the camera starts rolling. He gets it. He just gets it. Somehow it comes to him. And so it was interesting to see is both of their acting processes are completely different. They're completely opposite, but it works. And they're both fucking great at it. I was blown away by both of their performances. Had nothing to do with it. It made my writing look better, you know?
It really came out looking cool. I mean, it was, I mean, I had no idea what to expect when I came in, and I'm like, you know, like, you and I are drinking buddies, you know, for years. It's like, I got this movie. Okay, cool. You know, I show up and I'm expecting, I don't know what I was expecting, but I didn't expect what I saw when I showed up. It's like, here's the production trucks. Here's all the cameras. I'm like, oh, Rick is really an adult. This is kind of cool.
Yeah, this isn't. I know a lot of people are like, it's going to be some little student film, and yeah, no, I know, dude. And your part is great. It's so. Literally, I wish you were at the premiere for one reason only. That part where Matt Rife drops the microphone, and you're sitting in the corner on a straw, and you go, "Oh, if he breaks it, he's fucking paying for it." Got a huge laugh in the whole theater. Huge laugh.
I play a bar owner who does not like comedians.
No, tell him where the green room is. The green. Yeah, the green room was in a supply closet.
Supply closet. Exactly. It was great. That was so much fun to do that, and I mean, it was just great to be a part of that whole process. Now, you're writing the script, and let's go ahead, Sean. Pull up some of these pictures here. Let's just scroll through some of these. This is when the movie was being from the production. What I want to ask you is how the process of putting this thing together. I mean, you have ideas of what you want, and then all of a sudden it goes through the rewrites and it goes through and they're chopping stuff up because, you know, what Rick Delia wants in the movie and your sense of humor, which is so non-politically correct and so damn funny. I mean, you absolutely, you make me laugh every time I see you on stage, and only because you're just so irreverent and you just don't give a shit. And so that came across in the script. When I was reading the script, I'm like, it's like I'm talking to Rick. And now you've got people that are involved in the process that are now chopping this thing up. They're going, whoa, 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 whoa. This is not acceptable.
Yeah.
This is not going to work. What's going through your mind when this is happening?
Disappointment, rage. You name the emotions, man. And it was like, okay. And I'm certainly not going to name any names or anything like that. But
no, absolutely not.
That very, very, very first production meeting, like once we had our full team together and we knew that we were 100% going forward with this, the one thing I kept stressing was we have to do this. Might wind up being like a Rocky Horror Picture Show, or it's not gonna. It'll snowball. It's not going to be widely released in 3,000 theaters. It's an independent. It's not going to be a studio thing. It's not. But this should be one of those things that'll go underground and really catch on. But we have to stick true to what we know is the funniest, right?
Right.
And unfortunately, in the editing process, there was a lot of things that people felt, no, you can't say this, you can't say this, you can't. And I was like, yeah, but the whole idea was that we were going to say this. I'll give you a great example. I'll give you, and I did I had to write alternate versions of a lot of jokes, just cause. But here's just one of many examples. When Jamie Kennedy first sees me in the green room, we kind of bust balls like comics do, and he goes, "Hey man, look at you, dude. You look like a fatter, gayer Anderson Cooper." It's funny. Very funny. Because how can you look gayer, right? And obviously I got gray hair. So we were isn't that a great line? It's a great line.
It's a great line.
So, and so the alternate line, because it's like, all right, if you're gonna make fun of one side, you gotta make fun of the other. So then the alternate line was like, "Hey man, you look like a fat Mike Pence," right? Well, that's really not that funny. But during that period of time, post-pandemic or in the pandemic, who were the gray-haired people? It was Fauci, Pence, Anderson Cooper. You know what I mean? So it had to be one of those. Fatter, gayer Anderson Cooper, hilarious. That was cut. And when Jamie sees me, he's like, "Oh, hey, fat Mike Pence."
Right.
It's not unfunny, but it's not the funny fuck. You know what I mean? I can give you 20 more of those examples. 20 fucking more of those. And so
I can imagine.
You know what I mean? It's like, but here the thing that's most bothersome about all this woke shit today is it comes from one side and one side only. You are allowed to make fun of the right. Like I called Jamie Kennedy in the movie. I'm like, "Hey man, how was storming the fucking Capitol on January 6th? When are we going to see you on Doomsday of Preppers or whatever?" Like you can make fun of the right all day long. You touch the left, you're canceled. And that goes against everything that a comedian's about. Comedians call bullshit. We call truth out, and you should be able to make fun of anyone, as long as you're not doing it with hate, as long as it comes from a pure a place, you know, an organic place, and it's just funny without being hateful. You can't make fun of the left today. That's just the fucking way it is.
No, you can't. I mean, I like to think. I think a great example of comedians is that we're social umpires.
Great. Yes. Yes.
You know, we just call stuff out. It doesn't matter whether it's right or left. You know, it doesn't. I mean, I certainly do plenty of Trump jokes in my act, and I do Biden jokes in my act. And now you get some club owners that are like, "Hey, listen, don't whatever you do, don't get political because people get mad." I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. I never heard that between 2016 and 2020 when Trump was in office, and you saw, a monster amount of hard left comedians that were doing Trump jokes, which I'm like, do what you want. I could care less. It doesn't bother me. But now all of a sudden your guy's in office. And now you're telling me, the comedian, hey, listen, don't do political jokes. I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Now we're moving the goalpost on this. And so obviously you saw that in putting this movie together, because everything's got to be run through this, woke filter. And just there's a guy, Christian Toto, who is a author, and he does a thing called Toto in Hollywood. He's a conservative movie reviewer, and he had a book out, I told you about it, called Virtue Bombs. It's how Hollywood got woke and lost its soul. And he goes through just example after example after example of different productions and different TV shows and movies and all this stuff where the woke agenda is being shoved in there. There wasn't really anything that was inserted into your thing. It was just stuff taken out, correct?
Correct. Yeah. There was nothing inserted. You're exactly right. And the unfortunate thing about this woke revolution is it's you're with us or you're 100% against us. Two things can be true at the same time. You don't have to be a Trump, QAnon January 6th, let's go sit on Nancy Pelosi's desk rider to say, hey, I just don't think fucking men should be competing in women's sports. You know what I mean? If you have that opinion, they go, oh, you're a right-wing nut job conspiracy theory. Wait, no. I'm just saying this is my opinion on this one subject. There's no gray area. You can't be in the that's the problem, Derek. You can't be in the middle anymore. And I think most comedians anyway, we are very libertarian. We're in the middle. We see both sides and we call bullshit on both sides. You can't be in the middle anymore. You because the middle is here, but the left has gone so far over that you're automatically on the right, and you're like, wait, what the fuck? What just happened? I'm in the middle. No, not anymore.
Now, when is the backlash going to come? I mean, now when's the backlash going to come from the public on these movies where people aren't seeing them? I mean, take for example that movie Bros, which was just a garbage movie. I mean, from what I've heard, I saw the trailer. I'm like, the trailer does nothing to entice me, and that doesn't make me anti-gay. It's about gay dudes. Doesn't make me anti-gay. I just don't think it's a good movie. But if I say I don't think it's a good movie, now all of a sudden I'm homophobic.
You're homophobic,
and I'm anti-gay, and I should be, anti-LGBTQ. And it's like, oh, settle down. Just take it easy. No, I just don't like the movie. So just
dude.
No, take it easy.
You're right. No, that's the crazy thing, though. It was a horrible, horrible, horrible movie. And yes, people say, oh, well, then that's because you're homophobic. Look, everyone in the world has made jokes about Brokeback Mountain, but the reality, it was actually a good movie. So gay or straight, that was a good movie. It was a well-produced, well-acted movie with a unique storyline. Bros was just gay for the sake of being gay and trying to shove it down people's throats. And you're like, you want to know when the backlash is going to come? You're not going to like this answer. It's not coming. It's not coming. They can take the loss. Yeah, Bud Light can take the loss. Tampax can take the loss. Target, all these places can take the loss. Here's where I'm going to lose a lot of your viewers, because they're going to go, all right, BlackRock and Vanguard own all these fucking companies anyway. You know what I mean? You got to take a loss here and there. Huge tax write-offs. They're making money on real estate. It's the shiny object over here while we're doing stuff over here. You know what I mean? I don't. People are like, Yeah. There's going to be backlash. There isn't. This is the agenda. This is where we're heading right now, and it's just buckle up. And there could be a time when the pendulum will swing the other way, but there's not going to be a critical backlash again. These movies and TV shows are going to keep coming out.
Well, it just stinks that it. I mean, it's. Yeah, and it sucks. I mean, because you end up you don't have your creativity is stifled.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. If you just look at things that are streaming, okay? Netflix started doing tons of original programming, and a lot of it was super, super woke crap programming that no one was watching. So look what's coming back on Netflix. All these classic films, great film, big studio, the DiCaprio, Brad Pitt, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Just De Niro, like a lot of movies that were not streaming on Netflix for years are coming back because Netflix is like, oh, we kind of got to get our, viewers back. Look at just watch the streaming platforms. Those that are going woke are starting to bring back, and it's not new stuff. It's old classic stuff that they have to bring back because people are comfortable with that stuff because they're like, okay, now that Inception, that was a great movie, or whatever.
It's crazy. Well, and that's tough. I mean, that's obviously as a screenwriter now. This is the game plan that you're being handed. From the coaching staff of editors that are going to ultimately decide what the masses end up seeing. What's the goal of this movie?
Originally, we wanted to make 3, and that was the idea of Ron and Diana. They're like, we want this, and I hate to use the analogy, but like Twilight, they did like 3 or I don't know how many Twilight did, but she's like, we want this to be a three-part thing. We want to end it. So if the first one does well, then we'll put money into the second one. You know what I mean? So I've already written the second script, which is, not being vain or naive or delusional, 1,000 times better. I've put stuff in the second one that I wanted to, but couldn't in the first one. But now Matt Rife is so globally, gigantically huge. I don't know if we're going to be able to afford him. I mean?
Right.
We'll see. He's going to have to really like the project to come back in. But obviously, no. Our basic goal, we want to make our money back. We have to make at least $750,000 plus. That way, our investors, the people who believed in the movie, they'll be happy. And that's just the goal. You know what I mean?
So when these things end up going,
yeah.
Yeah. Well, now when these things go to the festivals, what are the festivals? What's going on at these festivals? What's the film is being shown? Who is there, and what are you looking to get out of these festivals?
Distribution. And so you want to know what goes on at these festivals? What went on at Epstein Island? What went on in Harvey Weinstein? I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of private screenings. I mean,
oh yeah.
But no. They have screenings, and obviously we're a low budget independent, so we're not going to be like at Cannes. We're not screening in the big rooms with the Martin Scorsese film. Which I do find interesting, like people like Scorsese, like people at that level still have their films in a film festival, and I don't get that. I thought that was for more independent type films, but no. Anyway, so the idea is we want to have worldwide distribution. So there's different, like domestic is just who's going to stream it, where is it going to, what we're probably going to do, what the path looks like. It's going to open in select theaters around this country, 10, maybe 20 theaters in the bigger cities, Boston, New York, LA, Chicago, blah, blah, blah. And then, so it'll have a limited theatrical run, and then it'll start streaming, who knows where it's, ideally on every possible streaming platform,
Right.
But then domestic or internationally, foreign sales, it's totally different than the United States. Like each territory has different offers. Like Russell Peters is in our movie. He's gigantic in Bollywood, in India. He's huge. Sure. So I imagine we'll get a decent deal out of India just because Russell Peters is in the movie. Whereas there's some other territories that, our shit's just not going to, people aren't going to give a shit. You know what I mean?
But so I can be huge in India is what you're telling me.
Yeah.
It's
see
exactly
you
what I
being
wanted.
user more. I think more like the Scandinavian countries. Germany, you'll probably be big in Germany. Kommen Sie hier, mein Kampf. This is Derek.
I'm huge in Berlin and small chunks of India. What was the biggest lesson you ended up getting out of this? When all was said and done, the dust settled, you see the movie shown, when you're going back and you're looking at the whole process of what you did, what's the biggest lesson that you learned after this thing was completed?
If you're gonna write a script, here's the thing: when you're writing a script, you're just, as a writer, you're just putting everything on the page that you think works. But now, having produced this movie as well, I would approach every script entirely differently. Be like, oh, okay, well, this scene just wouldn't be practical, or there's too many locations. If we can marry this scene with technical stuff, that's probably very boring for your people. But I would try to streamline it a little more. But that's also making an independent, low budget, film. If you're doing a studio film, you can certainly write whatever. But in terms of prep work, we prepped enough. One of the things, I would need to be more flexible about shit that just happens on the spot. We went through more caterers than Spinal Tap went through drummers. And, seriously,
caterers?
4 days in a row.
Seriously?
Honestly, dude, 4 days in a row we had caterers who either didn't show up or showed up like 2 hours late, or just brought enough food for 50 people when we had to feed 100 people. You know what I mean? It was just like, what? And
oh my
you
God.
know me, like I have meltdowns, right? I was like, I don't have time for this, but right? And I literally kept going. I was like, why is this fucking happening? There was a lot of the scene. There was a scene that Kathleen Dunbar was in. Unfortunately, her part got cut way down. But we had a scene in a diner, and like 6 o'clock that night, we were still on set. We were still shooting. They're like, hey, that location canceled on us tomorrow for whatever. It had nothing to do with us, but so we're like, oh shit, where are we going to film tomorrow? We have to find a place for tomorrow to film. That's super hard to do at 6 o'clock at night when most businesses are closed. And where do you And so the biggest lesson that, like, do you remember the movie Wag the Dog at all?
Yeah.
With Dustin Hoffman as a producer. He would go, oh, that's nothing. One time we were on set in Zimbabwe, and our actor died of a cocaine overdose, and they found 3 hookers in his room, and I took care of it. I knew, like, I need to be more like the Dustin Hoffman character and just let things roll off my back, because shit is, you can prepare, you can do all the prepping in the world, but shit is going to happen that's going to fuck up your whole day often, that you can't possibly troubleshoot for, like the catering mess or the location.
No, definitely. Any regrets?
Well, it would have been a different movie had the pandemic not happen. You know what I mean? Because there was some different casting. We wound up having some different people in the movie that couldn't make it on the second go around. So I can't really say that I regret it. You know what I mean? But I did learn, dude. I learned so much. How to make a movie on a low budget. I mean, I was like,
no kidding.
School. Dude, like,
oh, that's insane.
I think that car crash scene. This is a great example, right? So it's written in the movie that there's a big car crash and the car flips and blah 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 blah. And
Sean, can we pull up that picture of the car crash? Hang on one second, Rick. Sean, that picture of the car crash. I know that Rick had sent that over. This in particular, because this is towards the end of the film.
End of the movie. It's actually like it's like the big part of the movie.
No, exactly.
I had dozens of pictures. I was going to send some more, but I didn't want to bore people. But it's like, okay, so we can't afford a car crash,
right?
So we had to put our heads together, and I don't remember who came up with the idea. It was not my idea, but one of our producers is like, fucking, I got it. We bought a car from a junkyard for $50. They tow it to you for free, right? So
This is that car?
That's that car. We bought it for $50. It didn't run. The car didn't run. And so so we had them dump the car, right? And then we had them flip it over for us.
Wow.
And so for $50, we got that. And then we created these little fires. I don't know how the pyro guys do it, but they created all these little smoke and fires and all the shit that you see around.
Sure.
So for $50, so we don't show the car crash. We do this thing where you see the car coming, you see lights coming at them, and then you hear the sound effects. And then you open in on this thing right here.
Right.
And so I was like, oh, wow, that just saved us thousands and like how much money plus CGI, special effects. We bought a rent-a-wreck for $50 and they towed it out for free.
Wow.
So that was, right?
That is cool. I mean, because people don't know the behind-the-scenes things of how people cut corners on stuff like this.
Yeah. Well, we had to. Because we also shot, if you remember correctly, we shot during the tail end of, the pandemic was still going on. Certain restrictions were being lifted, which is how we were able to film.
Right.
But with Screen Actors Guild, because we're a SAG registered movie. Oh, that's a lesson. I'll get back to that. SAG, remind me. So we still had to follow the COVID protocols. So you had to have a couple of on-set doctors. People had to be tested every day. The principal actors, often twice a day. Everyone had to wear masks or the face shields. The catering, which is part of the reason why our catering is so fucked up. You couldn't just have craft service. You couldn't all sit together, individually wrapped meals. We spent over $100,000. $100,000, Derek, we spent just on the COVID stuff, which could have gone.
Wow.
We had to cut like 3 scenes. We had to cut 3 scenes out of the script because we couldn't afford it anymore. So would the movie have been better? Oh yeah, absolutely. It was like when you and I filmed fucking Dry Bar. We were supposed to shoot in March of 2020, and then we get canceled because of the pandemic. They bring us back, and there's 35 people in the crowd wearing masks.
I know.
And they're like, we'll fix it in post. Did they? No, they didn't. They show the crowd, they're wearing masks, and it's like fucking
it's awful.
shot it, and it was a packed theater, and, people cheering, and we had no, so,
No, I know.
Yeah,
COVID. No. COVID screwed up everything. It really did. And obviously people were trying to just make do with whatever they could. And so now you're talking about SAG. Let's circle back to that.
Yeah. So we did everything properly. We got all of our paperwork in, our permitting in, registered with the Nevada Film Commission, which you certainly have to do. But what we could have done is this is a huge lesson for independent filmmakers. We didn't have to go through SAG. We could have shot this as I forgot what it's called, but like a low budget experimental film. And that way we wouldn't have had to follow all the SAG protocols, which are really expensive, man. The SAG protocols are super, super expensive. So we could have gotten way, way more for a bang for our buck if we didn't go through SAG. And then when the movie was finished, then go through the SAG process. Like, oh, hey, we just figured out that we had some actors that blah, blah, blah. People do it all the time, right?
Okay.
It's
Does you get backlash from SAG, though?
No. Like I said, people do it all the time. It's a legal tax loophole type of situation where this type of thing exists. People do it all the time. They don't. Right. They go film the movie. They do it, on their own way, and then they register it with SAG. And then it's not like you have to pay all kinds of fines afterwards. You do have to pay, the bump of the actor's salary and things like that. But I'm probably explaining it. Obviously our, a couple of our other producers would explain it better than me, but that's the nuts and the bolts. We could have saved a shitload of money and time had we just gone under the radar, guerrilla style, filmed the movie, and then got, crossed the T's and dotted the I's down the road.
So what you're saying is porn really doesn't go through SAG first. That's way more experimental.
SAG. There's a lot of sagging in porn, but people.
There's a lot of sagging in porn. Sadly, that's a lot of my searches on Pornhub. Sagging. Just type that in the search engine, see what pops up.
Saggyballs.com.
Saggyballs.com. The movies don't suck. I want to go ahead. Let's go ahead and pull up this picture of Matt in the Matt Rife, who was in the coffin here. And this picture just cracked me up. Oh my God, this is hilarious. This is Jesus.
You know
so
what's
bizarre.
Thank you for putting that picture up. Hey, what just happened here? This is awesome. No. Here's a great example. Okay, so this was a scene that it was supposed to be a flashback scene of Matt Rife, because he's a vampire, so he's 400 and something years old. So it was a flashback scene of him having sex with the girl, that blonde-haired girl, on the scene that you were in, right?
Oh, Ellen Holman.
Remember? No. The blonde girl, the scene that you were in.
Oh. Yes. Yeah, in the bar scene.
Yes, Lauren Compte is her name. And so
gotcha.
That scene where there's the five of you, and you're like, hey, I'm going to go pick up this guy's puke, right? And Jamie, the girl says to Jamie, you don't remember me, to Matt Rife, you don't remember me, do you? And then she touches him, and then they have a flashback of when they had sex, 200 or 300 years ago. So our prop department got this used casket, set up this elaborate scene. There's a powdered wig that Matt is wearing, and it was fucking hilarious. That was one of the funniest things that we filmed. And now it's in the movie literally for 2 seconds. You just see a quick flash, and that's one of those things that I'm not happy about, and I don't know exactly why they cut that out. I fought for that to stay in. So we spent a lot of money, not a lot of money, but a lot of time lighting this thing, and the prop department, knocked themselves out to do this scene. It winds up not in the movie. So that's why I sent you that picture. I figured women would love to see a semi-naked Matt Rife.
Matt's a good-looking guy, and I think what we're able to do here is, we were able to go ahead and Rick, you really need to go ahead and give yourself more credit for being a good-looking guy, because we're going to go ahead and make you look more like Matt. So, Sean, go ahead and pull this up here.
Oh, no.
If you would. There we go. See, that's spot on. That is not Photoshopped at all.
So now I have to go on TikTok?
That's gonna be my new contact photo for you now. You realize that when you call me.
That's
stupid.
Oh, that's hilarious. That's so funny.
All right, Sean, let's get rid of that. That's gonna haunt my dreams for a while. Dude, I can't thank you enough for your time. This is I'm super excited about this production here. So it's at con right now. Hopefully, it's going to end up getting some traction here and get some distribution, and the masses will be able to see it. When it does, we will certainly go ahead and post it out there. People should follow you on social media at Rick_Delia on Instagram. Where can they find you on Facebook?
I don't know, just Rick Delia 7, I think, is Rick Delia 7. And I'm so bad with social media. I don't have Twitter. I got rid of my Twitter, and I'm not on TikTok. I'm trying to promote a movie. Find me on Facebook for old people.
Find me on MySpace.
Yeah, I actually still have my account. I'm
friends. I'm sure you do. You're still friends with Tom.
Yeah, the movie should be coming out by the end of the summer, maybe early fall. I'll obviously let you know. And my open bar comedy special comes out next month, and it's called Intermittent Drinking.
I love it. Dude, I'm so happy for you. I want to go ahead and pull up some of these, because we were trying to find some headshots of you at first, and I was digging around, and you start finding stuff online. Let's go ahead and, Sean, pull up these pictures that we found of Rick on the internet. We're going old school here. Look at that. Okay. That's on your IMDb.
I was a good-looking.
You are a good-looking guy.
Not a bad-looking guy.
You look like you could be like in Richard Marx's band. What else did we find here, Sean? What's the next one? There. Look at that.
I have such an amazing.
Wow! How young are you in this picture?
1996.
Wow.
So
this is like when you tried out for Happy Days.
Yeah.
Those are awesome pictures.
That's so funny. I got stories about that too. I'll tell you in person, man. That's so great.
Oh, too funny. Rick Delia. The movie is called Don't Suck, starring Jamie Kennedy and Matt Rife, and of course Rick Delia. and Derek Richards, Jimmy Shubert's in it. Russell Peters is in it also. The movie is Don't Suck. See it when it comes out. Rick, I can't thank you enough for your time, brother. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, great to see you, man. Thank you so much, Derek.
All the best with the movie, man. That's fantastic. Rick Delia. The movie is called Don't Suck. Comedian, writer, actor, producer of said film here on A Drink with Derek. And can't thank Rick enough for the time. And also, please go ahead and check out my special, Melting Snowflakes, on Open Bar Comedy. It's available now, openbarcomedy.com. It's a paid platform. Tons of comedy specials on there. Also grab my book, Whiskey, Cancer, and Bad Decisions. Available on Amazon, hard copy, Kindle, and Audible. This is Derek Richards. I can't thank you enough for joining me. We'll see you next time here on A Drink with Derek. See you, bye.
Thanks for listening to A Drink with Derek. Find out when Derek is appearing near you by checking out DerekRichards.com. See you next time for A Drink with Derek.